Hi, ladies. Good to see you all back for day 2. This is probably my favorite day of creating confidence because it's where we get into the meat. I see you over there. I love the song Meghan Trainor. I don't know if you know this song. It's called Me Too. Super confident, female anthem. Love the song. So day 2, welcome back. Hopefully by now you've had a chance to watch day 1 and do your confidence creator. For those of you that participated yesterday, I sent that out and posted it in the group at the end of our session. And that was all about doing your change resume. So how many of you had a chance to do your change resume? I know a few of you sent it to me, so kudos to you for actually following through, but some of you didn't. So make sure you do the work. I'm holding you accountable for this. And you promised yesterday to implement. So you owe it to yourself to follow through. Okay, as you're coming in, say hi. Let me know you're here. If you're watching the replay, just use a hashtag replay so that I know you're watching this. And hello to my friends on YouTube, because I am streaming to YouTube today for the first time. So excited to have you. I'm sorry I didn't figure it out for day 1, but this is just real-time iterating. So if you're on YouTube, welcome. Make sure you go register, KarenFreeland.com/confidence, so that I know that you're part of this and I can send you all the reminders and all that good stuff. As a reminder, if you are watching in Facebook, you need to give permission to StreamYard. And I'm just going to show you again, super quick for anyone who maybe hasn't seen day 1. So you'll just see right here at the bottom of my post for the live video today that it says I'm going live in StreamYard. Before you can comment, give permission. You just click the little link. It's going to take you over to StreamYard. Click this blue bar to let StreamYard see your comments, and I'll be able to see who's actually commenting. That's it. It's so super simple, but it makes it a lot more fun to go through the challenge when I actually know who's here. Okay, so we're going to start out. I'm going to just start to take the music down. And I think that positivity begets positivity. So the more we talk ourselves up, the better, right? Just like our inner critic can tear us down, guess what? We can build ourselves up. So I want to know in the chat pod, what is one thing you love about yourself? Some of you might be like, I don't know. I don't love anything. Yes, you do. We all have something we love about ourselves. It could be a physical quality. I love my eyelashes. They're super long. I probably don't even need mascara, but I wear it anyway because then it makes it even longer. I also love my selflessness when I get to volunteer. That's one of my favorite things to do these days is volunteering and giving my time back. Fills me up so much. And I love that about myself, that I am able to carve that time out and be selfless in that way. So think of something for yourself. What do you love about yourself? Don't be shy. Share it in the comments and let's celebrate each other for our amazing qualities, the amazing qualities that we all have. Okay. So while you're doing that, I just want to do a quick recap for anybody who might be watching this for the first time and didn't get a chance to see yesterday. We learned something super important yesterday, a new definition for how we are going to see confidence. It's not being cocky. It's not being, overly confident, right? Where we just think we're the greatest thing since sliced bread. No, confidence is actually a skill set, a muscle we can improve. And at its most basic sense is a willingness to try combined with the trust that we will figure it out, knowing that we'll learn something even if it doesn't go the right way on the first try. We also discovered that growth is vital for our success and our happiness. We're actually wired for change. We don't have to be afraid of it. How great is that? We are capable of whatever gets thrown in our face, whatever challenges come our way. And we evidence that by doing our change resume and seeing all the other times that we have overcome a challenge. Now, I'm also a realist. So let's face it. Change can still feel scary and uncomfortable at times. And as we take on some of these new behaviors and these tools and techniques that I'm sharing with you, you might be like, this feels a little strange. I kind of feel like I'm faking it. I don't know if I'm bought in yet, Karen. That's okay. And I want to tell you that we have to accept some discomfort. And if we can learn to accept the discomfort, then we're going to be able to face new challenges with Confidence. I don't know where the memo came out that, there's no discomfort in change, or people who can do a lot of changes are just fearless. They're not scared of anything. That is not confidence. So this is all part of the process, feeling a little uncomfortable, going through these growing pains, totally normal. So trust the process. So how many of you have ever tried to make a change and then you suddenly have that little inner voice that starts to talk you out of it? Is this common for some of you? Let's use a workout example, because I think we've all at one point or another been like, hey, I don't feel so great. I'm eating a lot of junk food. Maybe you're drinking a lot. Maybe you just haven't been very physically active. And you start to go, I feel kind of sluggish. My body just doesn't feel good. My clothes don't quite fit the way I want them to. Maybe I should start working out again. So you decide, like, I'm going to join a gym. You go out and you buy all these great workout clothes. You're like, yes, I'm going to look the part. Then you go to the gym and you walk in and you see all these fit people using the machines. And you're like, ooh, here comes your inner critic. You don't belong here. Look how good a shape these people are in. You don't look like them. What are you doing? So you walk over to a machine. You're like, I'm going to try this one out. But you don't know how it works. You're trying to figure it out. You're starting to sweat. You're getting nervous. People are looking at you. Here comes the inner critic. See, you're not even capable of figuring out the equipment. What are you doing here? You never should have come. Just go home. So maybe you have enough guts to walk over to the treadmill because, you just walked in. You don't want to leave right away. You walk on the treadmill for 10, 15 minutes, and then you're like, I'm out of here. Bye-bye. You go home. The next day your alarm goes off and you're like, yeah, I'd rather sleep in. And your little inner critic is like, see, I knew you weren't cut out for this. I knew you wouldn't follow through. Just go to sleep. This is your life. This is the way it is. Stop going to the gym altogether. Don't even bother setting your alarm. And guess what? A month later, here you are feeling crappy again, going, maybe I should go to the gym. Does this sound familiar to anyone? Drop a 1 in the chat. I know it does because I've done it. We've all been there. And what you just witnessed was a case of self-sabotage. And it's a vicious cycle that will continue to happen to you until you gain control over your inner critic and you stop the self-sabotage. So I want to start with self-sabotage first. I want to talk about what it is and how we stop it. And I'm going to go over to the whiteboard here for a second so that we can take a closer look at this. Okay, so self-sabotage, what is it? For some of you, it may be an everyday part of life for you, depending on what you're going through right now or where you're at. So self-sabotage is when you acknowledge that something is good for you and you actively undermine your goals and in many cases, your values. So if I say it differently, right? You want to start working out. You know that this thing is good for you, right? Keeping those 20 pounds off that you lost, right? That is great. And then you go, but I'm stressed and I'm overwhelmed. So you know what? I'm going to eat. Or you make late night food runs, right? Eating like 5 minutes before bed, right? You start doing all these things that are in direct conflict with the goal. You know you want to get healthy, but you do all these things that are not helping you reach your goal. Okay, so it's a pretty simple understanding, right? Sometimes this comes in the form of procrastination. And I've had some clients who are like, no, but I'm just a procrastinator, Karen. That's what I do. I just procrastinate. Well, they keep doing it and it's a way of self-sabotage, right? But they become so certain, like, well, if I know that I'm going to procrastinate, then it's okay because I know that about myself. It becomes a part of your identity. Can you think about a time when this has maybe happened to you? How does your self-sabotage manifest itself? For some people, it's perfectionism, right? They want everything to be so perfect that they will never get their goals off the ground. They will never follow through on anything because they're waiting for everything to be perfect. So my question for you, have you ever stopped to consider what you might be doing to sabotage yourself? If you haven't, this is an awesome opportunity, and I want you to write those things down. Write it down in your journal. If you're brave enough, drop it in the comments. Let me know what kind of self-sabotage you have experienced. I used to drink a lot. Drinking was a big form of self-sabotage for me. But why do we self-sabotage? And if you know, go ahead and share that in the chat. Some of us are scared. And we're not always scared of failure. Some of you are scared of success. Yes, because success means changing your inner circle, dropping a friend, changing the way that you parent. Maybe you're not around as much for your kids, or maybe you'd be around more, and that makes you uncomfortable. Maybe you don't feel worthy. Maybe you're worrying about your image or what other people might think. Trust me, when I was getting ready to publish my book, that was a big one for me. Self-doubt. Just don't trust yourself. Maybe you're protecting yourself from pain. You've been in some relationships before that didn't go so well. So what do? You sabotage the new relationships. Or maybe you're misunderstanding yourself. Right? I kept forcing myself to have this job in corporate because I thought that's what I was supposed to do. I didn't see another way out, but I was sabotaging myself at work because my body knew that I didn't really want to be there. I just wasn't willing to accept it yet. So have a think for yourself about why you might be self-sabotaging. And then we're going to look at how to stop it because, it's great to know that we're doing it, but if we can't fix it, then, what's the point of knowing? So let's look at how we're going to fix our self-sabotage. Okay, hopefully you got that definition down. It was pretty short and simple, but so here's how we're going to stop self-sabotage. Well, in coaching, everything almost always starts with awareness because, again, we cannot fix what we do not know is a problem. So we want to become hyper aware and super sensitive to your actions so that you can identify for yourself, well, which of these behaviors are self-sabotage. I just mentioned substance abuse, right? Drinking. For others, that might be drug abuse. It could be prescription drug abuse. For some of people, it's going to be sleeping in. Just, that alarm goes off, you have some things you want to get done, and then you zoop, I'm just going to sleep more. Bam, self-sabotage. Maybe it's you're a mom and you constantly prioritize your kids, and you have a goal that you want to achieve, but you're like, oh, but I got all this stuff for the kids. Yeah, you're self-sabotaging. Maybe you're stress eating. Maybe you're not speaking up at work. There's so many different things that you could be doing that could be considered self-sabotage. So start to write those down. Start to take notice of those. And then once you come up with what your self-sabotaging behaviors are, you can go to step 2, which is to discover your root cause. Okay. Think about it like a doctor. So have you ever gone to a doctor and said, I don't feel good. My stomach hurts all the time. And they go, oh, here, take some pills to make the stomach ache go away. But really, the reason you're having stomach aches is because you have anxiety. Well, if we're just treating the stomach ache and we're not treating the anxiety, are you going to get better? No, of course not. So we don't want to just treat the awareness, hey, Karen, you should stop drinking all the time and self-sabotaging. We want to go, but why are you drinking? Oh, because you're not happy in your job? Then let's fix that, right? So here we're going to try to really understand what is leading you to this behavior. What is the why behind your self-sabotage? Are you overwhelmed? Are you unhappy? Are you lacking purpose and direction in your life? And this might feel a little bit uncomfortable for you to say out loud and acknowledge your true feelings, right? But this is where the true breakthrough happens. This is how you get transformational change in your life, by really understanding what the root cause is. Okay? So first, awareness, we need to know that this is a problem, be aware of these self-sabotaging behaviors. Then we're going to understand the root cause of them. And then we can move on to step 3, which is really having that bigger purpose and a why for what you're doing. Okay. Bigger purpose or why. So we have to uncover that for ourselves. And it's going to be different for each person depending on their situation. But when you have a bigger reason for doing something that you want to do, you are going to be less likely to self-sabotage. Why? Think about it. I'm doing this course, right? I don't do this course for me so I can stand up here and go, look how great I am. I teach this great course. I do this course to help other women who, like me, stayed in a job that they hated for much too long, living a life full of frustration and not knowing how to get unstuck. I know that if I can help women with these techniques, teach them how to be more confident, they will get out of their rut much, much faster than I did. That fuels me. So having that bigger why or that bigger purpose prevents me from self-sabotaging. Because imagine if I didn't have that purpose. Imagine if I was just doing this to make myself look good. There's a lot of ways my inner critic could come in here and be like, well, Karen, who are you? Who are you to tell these other women how to be more confident? Look how you stayed in a job for 4 years that you didn't like. Well, that wasn't very confident of you. Ugh, are you really going to market this program and tell other people about it? What if nobody comes, right? There would be all these things that my inner critic would say, but I don't listen to any of that because I have this bigger why and this bigger purpose that fuels me no matter what. So for you, really think about what is that purpose? What is that driver for you? And then we know as we start to move in that direction, yeah, we're going to learn, right? We're going to go back to our definition from yesterday and go, I can build proficiency, right? As I run these challenges, they get better every single time because I learn how to say something differently. I think, come up with a new client example, right? There's all these things that I can do to iterate my way to success. Same thing for you. Understanding that bigger purpose is going to help you fuel and take the right steps that you need to take. Now, maybe your purpose, for those of you that are married or those of you that have kids, it could be your spouse. It could be your children. Maybe you want to get healthy so that you can be around for them for longer. Or maybe you want to start an animal rescue business because you want to save abused animals. All of this bigger purpose removes the need for you to be perfect or to feel worthy for what it is that you're doing. And once you've identified this behavior and you have your bigger purpose, then you can start taking the right actions to reverse all of the self-sabotage and self-doubt that's coming up for you. And so, of course, our last step, surprise, is action. Because this is all great, but this isn't action, right? This is just kind of still up here in our head. So now we have to actually do the right things to get rid of the self-sabotage. And so once you are ready to take the action, this is where you're going to see changes really happening in your life. So let me give you a quick client example also, and then we'll talk a little bit more about action and how our inner critic might come into play to try to stop us from taking action. So I had a client and she came to me in our first session and we found out that her self-sabotaging behavior was applying for jobs that she didn't actually want. But she felt like, well, if I apply for these jobs, at least I'm doing something, right? She felt like in some way, shape, or form that would keep her motivated to find a new career. Here's the thing. It was actually having the opposite effect because it was draining her energy. And then when she didn't get the job that she didn't even want in the first place, it started to impact her confidence because she felt like, well, nobody wants me to work for them. And so what I kept explaining is the universe has bigger plans for you, girlfriend. The universe wants you to go follow this art education path that you've been thinking about. It doesn't want you to go back into corporate and just take another job for the sake of having a job. Sure enough, now she has applied for her MBA. She got accepted. She is in school now. And she also had a summer job that she applied for and got. And now she has something lined up for the fall too. Like, amazing. And she could have kept just self-sabotaging and applying for these jobs that she didn't want. Can you imagine if she actually got one? She'd be miserable right now. She'd be forfeiting her true purpose as an art educator. That's why this is so powerful and I'm so passionate about it, because I want all of you to live your dream life. So, will you commit to changing your self-sabotaging behavior? Say yes in the chat if you are picking up what I'm putting down, if you are ready to make the changes. I also want you to tell me what's one thing that you're going to do differently as a result of what we just talked about. What's one thing? What's one thing you're going to do differently to stop that self-sabotaging behavior? We're not going to do it anymore. Let me know in the comments if you're comfortable sharing. And if you don't know, guess what I'm going to tell you to do tonight? Journal. Journal all about it, okay? And really get honest with yourself. Now, I'm going to take a sip of water, and then we're going to jump into our second part of quieting the inner critic. All right, we're going to deal with her next. So, self-sabotage often comes in the form of self-criticism, delivered by our wonderful inner critic. Self-criticism, however, will just drain your energy that could be better used working towards your goals. It is most times not helpful, okay? Self-criticism is never helpful. Occasionally, our inner critics can be helpful because they will prevent us from jumping into something too quickly or making rash decisions. So our inner critic has a purpose, right? We don't actually want to kill our inner critic. We don't want to get rid of it completely because it can serve that important role for us. But we also need to let her know she's not boss. She's not in charge of us. And when I tell you there's enough people in the world that want to tear us down, especially us successful, driven women, believe me, you do not need to contribute. They are out there. So let's get our inner critic under control so that it can be building us up when the haters hate. So the first thing we want to do is separate our wonderful inner critic from us, okay? She's a part of us, but she's not the whole thing. And she is most certainly not in control, okay? Nope, only one person gets the title of queen or boss lady, okay? And that's the true you. So we need to start a dialogue with her. And my favorite way to do this is to just start by naming your inner critic. Give her a name. Now, I love alliteration. So my inner critic is Sucky Susan, okay? And I'm sorry if your name is Susan. It's a gorgeous name. But my inner critic is Sucky Susan, and she sucks. And she gets very overactive sometimes. What do you want to name your inner critic? Debbie Downer, Negative Nancy, Meanie Martha, someone had Bitchy Betty. I mean, like, whatever. Pick a name. You don't have to commit to it for life, okay? So just come up with something now in the short term so you can use it for the rest of this challenge. But if you want to rename her later, like when you have more creativity or something, like, totally feel free to do that. Once you have named her, go ahead and drop that name in the chat. Like, let's make it real, okay? She is now real and she is separate from us. You may be wondering, why are our inner critics so active? Like, where does all this come from? So much of it, just like we saw yesterday based on past experiences, has to do with the messages that we receive over the course of our lives. And friends, this comes from all different places. It can come from parents, from teachers, from church leaders, from coaches, coworkers. I mean, literally anyone that you have an interaction with could be impacting your inner critic and giving them fuel and ammo. So what have you heard in your lifetime that is holding you back? Have you ever thought about that? We're getting deep today, okay? We're asking a lot of questions. This might be uncomfortable, but go with me. Maybe someone said you're not smart enough. You're not talented enough. You don't have any friends. Nobody likes you. You will always be poor. I had a college professor, believe it or not, say that to me. She said, yeah, you'll probably always be poor. Wonder if that's why I stayed in a corporate job making 6 figures longer than I should have. Probably. Put some makeup on before you leave the house. Where are you going like that? I'll admit I've said to my sons, are you going to do your hair or are you going to leave the house like that? What kind of messages are we putting out there? What kind of messages have we picked up over the course of the years? Mind is like a garden, right? And if we let one negative seed get planted, it's like a weed. And if you've ever gardened, the second a weed gets in there, what happens? It just takes over, suffocates out all the good plants. In this case, all the good thoughts, until we actually start to believe the negative things that other people have said about us. Wow. It's time to do some gardening, okay? The key here is going to be to separate fact from fiction. We have to look at what is real and what are feelings based on some of the past experiences and messages that we have received. And the ones that we do not want to believe anymore, we do not want in our head, that are not serving us, we're going to learn to let those messages come and go without putting too much attention or judgment on them. And if you catch yourself putting too much emphasis or dwelling on that, we're going to pluck that weed. We're going to take it right out of the garden. And one of the ways that we can do that is by having this dialogue with our inner critic. And you can use a very firm sentence that goes like this. And I learned this from the wonderful Helene Lerner, who has a book called In Her Power. I actually don't have it on my desk. I almost always do. But she says to say, these lies have no power over me, sucky Susan. Because remember, we named our inner critic, so we're going to talk to her. These lies have no power over me, sucky Susan. I want you to try that. Next time your inner critic gets a little overactive, I want you to say that to her and tell her that those lies don't have any power over you. And one by one, we're going to pluck out all the negative thoughts. Does this excite you? It excites me because I know how powerful this is. So let's just take a second and look at how this will work in practice, okay? I'm going to teach you a super helpful technique for controlling your inner critic. Are you ready? If you're ready, I better see a 2 in the comments or the chat. Let me see it. Let me know. Give me a 2. Let me know that you are following along and you are ready to absorb this exercise. And I use this with a lot of my clients that go through my Edit Your Life program because it is so effective. So let me just get rid of this here. Okay. So we have a tendency for our inner critics to become very active and tell us a lie. Now, I want you to keep a very open mind, okay, when I show this to you. And I want you to promise me that you will implement it, okay? I know it's going to feel awkward at first. It always does. But if you stick with it and you actually do it, it will work and it is very powerful. Okay. So let me use an example from my life. Okay. I'm not a good author. Why would I think that? Why would I think I'm not a good author? Did you see my sales last month? I sold barely any books, you guys. It was really low, really low. So it'd be very easy for my inner critic to go, look, you must be a bad author. You haven't sold any books this week, this month, whatever. Okay, well, let's look at this statement. And I want you to ask yourself, just as I would ask myself, do I really believe this? Do I? And if so, why? Why do I believe that? You know what? I don't believe that. And it's not true. It is not true. I know that it's a good book because I invested a lot of money in in a professional, I was going to say private, in a professional editor. And, I spent a lot of money on copy editing and proofreading, even after the editor went through everything. And by the way, it's hilarious. Have you read it? It's so funny. So I know that my book is really good. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to replace this with a truth. Okay, I'm going to have a new truth. This lie is no longer my truth. Okay, now, what I wouldn't do, I want to just explain this for a second because this is really important when you're doing this exercise. I wouldn't say, I'm not a bad author, right? You could see how we think that that's positive. I'm not a bad author, but I have the words bad author together. So my brain still hears bad author. So that would not be a good way to write a new truth. I'll show you how you should do it. Okay, I am a talented author, regardless of sales. Ooh, okay. I am a talented author, regardless of sales. I know. I've seen the reviews, the Amazon 5-star reviews. There's even proof. But even without that, I know that it's a really good book and that I'm a talented author. It is that simple, my friends. We are just going to replace the lies with the truths. And this works for anything, okay? So I'm going to share another client example with you today. And I had a client who was such a talented marketer, right? And she wanted to start her own business and full service agency, consulting agency. But that little inner critic kept coming in and saying, how are you going to find clients? You've never worked your own business before. Hey, you've only worked at big corporations where you had tons of support and all these other departments backing you up. How are you going to run a business? Well, does that sound familiar? Has anybody else ever had thoughts like that? I'm sure it has. So we worked together in our coaching sessions on replacing the lies with her new truths. And guess what? In the first month, she landed 2 clients. 2 clients. That's the power of just changing your thinking, controlling that inner critic, getting them to be quiet. And so in her case, we took the lie, I'm not capable of running my own business, and we made it a truth by saying, I have learned many things in the past, and now I will successfully learn how to run my own business. See that? Taking the lie, stripping it of its power, and replacing it with a truth. It seems so simple, right? And you're probably sitting here going, this is not rocket science, Karen. No, it's not. But this little act of retraining your inner critic is going to make a big, big difference in how you see yourself and how you are able to accomplish your goals and the confidence that you have to go forward and accomplish those goals. Your brain wants you to succeed. It's on your side. It's like, yes, I want to help you. So it's going to actually try to make these truths your reality. But if you keep living the lies, guess what? Your brain doesn't know the difference between a good truth and a bad truth. So it's going to make those things true. So if you keep telling yourself the lie, I'm not a good author, guess what? You will not be a good author. But if you work on training your brain to say, I am a talented author, regardless of sales, guess what? I'm a talented author. It's that simple. Okay, so guess what? For tonight's Confidence Creator, you, my friends, are going to be able to have a heart-to-heart with your inner critic, and you're going to replace your lies with a new truth. Now, when it comes to having this heart-to-heart with your inner critic, I highly recommend doing this in a mirror and actually looking at yourself and reading out your new truths, telling your inner critic that they have no power over you anymore. Or if you feel more comfortable, you can do it via a journal. But don't just think it in your head. I really want to see you write these things out because that's what's going to commit it to you. And if you're willing, you can even put these new truths on a Post-it note and put them up in your bathroom on the mirror or somewhere that you're going to see them all the time. Maybe a fridge, maybe in your dorm room. I mean, wherever you are, right? Your apartment, your house, somewhere. And remember, you promised me yesterday that you would implement, right? This is a free challenge. So you could be tempted to be like, okay, I'm not really going to do it. But you're not going to get transformation if you don't do the work. So if you do the work, I promise you, this is going to start to kick in. So the Facebook group, for those of you that are on the Facebook side, those of you watching from YouTube, make sure you go join the Facebook group, Successful Working Women, Rocking Reinvention. That is where the homework will be located. You're just going to pull down the PDF, the Confidence Creator, And you're going to fill that out. And if you want to be entered into the giveaway, you're going to send that back to me via email so that I can look at it. I'll give you feedback and I will respond to you. Okay. Woo! We covered a lot today. This is always my favorite day though, because if you can master the inner critic and stop the self-sabotage, like right there, you've already won. Your confidence level is just going to shoot right up. So for those of you that have been tracking your confidence level along, what's your confidence now on a scale of 1 to 10? Have you seen a jump after what we've talked about today? For those of you that also have had a big takeaway or an aha moment today, let me know that in the chat. Commit that, write it, like type it down, right? Tell me what that was so that you don't forget it and it becomes ingrained. And if anybody has any final questions, you can pop them in the chat and I can always answer those as well. Whatever you do, don't forget to do the Confidence Creator. Email it to me. You've got some time. We're just about to wrap up, so you can work on this until 1 p.m. Eastern, or if you're watching the replay, till whenever. And then if you don't get it finished, you can always come back later and fill it out. But implement, do the work, send it to me, and I will enter you into the giveaway for Friday. So awesome job. Let's just remember to give ourselves a little round of applause, to love ourselves for doing this work. I'm really proud of you showing up today and participating. Kudos to you. And tomorrow you are not going to want to miss day 3. Oh my gosh. Growth mindset. We're going to learn how to master your mindset. We're going to talk about what a growth mindset is, how you develop it. Trust me, you don't want to miss this, because in my experience and in what I see in a lot of my clients, mindset is everything. Everything. If you can master your mindset, you can do anything. And sometimes, as you'll see, mindset's the only thing we actually have control over. So I'm going to see all of you back here tomorrow, same time, same place. Thank you for being here with me today. And I am rooting for you all with your new truths. Bye.